Hello, everyone, and welcome to this podcast from the Light Review. And I am overjoyed, as always, to be talking to Ruth Kelly Waskett, who is now free from the shackles of the presidency of the SLL. So, Ruth, what's it like?
Hi, John. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's great. I definitely do feel a sense of liberation from my duties. And I mean, I must say, though, I have got an official role for another year as past president, as immediate past president. So, and I mean, that system's designed so that you don't just disappear, because that would not be healthy. If you've started things, you need to be there to see that they continue, and that things just don't drop off a cliff. So I do still need to turn up to some meetings, but I don't have to chair them anymore. So,
excellent. Well, from what I've seen, past presidents never disappear.
No.
And eventually the past presidents keep knocking on the door saying, "Can I come in?"
Yeah, I think that can definitely happen. And there's lots of examples of people that are still very much here. Yes, yeah. Thank goodness.
So here's the question that I think intrigues a lot of us who don't take up those kind of positions. What changed? Are you the person that went in a year ago, or have you seen so much? Have you been overwhelmed with so much that you are now a different person?
So, well, it's a big question. I don't think it's changed me fundamentally as a person. But when I look back, which of course I've had to look back as part of the process at the AGM, which took place at the end of last month, I spoke for a few minutes reflecting, on the past year. And it felt like May 2021 was years ago. It really did. And of course, we're in a very unique time at the moment, and that's got a lot to do with it because it was a different world. We were still kind of locked down. I don't think we were fully locked down, but we were still quite locked down. And and I did my president's address from my spare room at home, and there I was a year later in an actual building with real people again, and it felt like we'd come through a very difficult period, and that a lot had changed. I suppose probably it might sound a bit corny, but one of the things that has happened, I think, is I've grown in my sort of self-confidence might be the right term, but sense of, wow, I did that, and I chaired those meetings, and I navigated some, tricky, conversations, and that was really good. So it's given me, I suppose it's just reminded me again of how important it is to speak up. Now during that time, I felt like I had the platform to be, people actually wanted me to share my views on things. And having come through that, I'm now, I carry that into everything I do now. I try to actually speak up with how I see things to contribute as much as I can, whether it's through my work in Hoare Lea or work with other groups and different activities that I do in the industry. So that's been really good, really enriching.
Excellent. I'm just wondering, with as you say, that you came in and we were still entirely focused around the COVID situation. Andrew's now come in as president. Is there a sense that there is a more unfinished business because of the limitations that you face, and is there a sense that Andrew needs to? We all know Andrew, and there's never going to be a problem, but needs to make space for almost two agendas now because of things that you couldn't move forward quickly enough in what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could see it that way, but I'm not sure. That's not how I see it. I hope that I've paved the way for Andrew to have space for what he wants to spend his, to focus his energy on. But he is very much also having to kind of be mindful of the things that I've started that he can help support, carry on. I definitely don't want to give him two agendas. That would be too difficult. One is enough.
He's got broad shoulders, that man.
Yeah. I think there's only so much each person can do. And of course, the other element of this, and I was really reminded of it, is, you are also in most cases trying to do your other job at the same time. And so a lot of this is about starting things and getting things in motion and seeing that they are carried on by mainly, the people who do most of the work, the staff at the SLL, which is part of CIBSE. So it's sort of making sure that these things are set in motion and that the framework is put there. And because there's a new president every year, it gives us a great opportunity to bring new eyes to the way we do things at the Society of Light and Lighting. So it's, hang on, why are we doing it like this? That's what a lot of it is about. It's hang on, why are we doing it like this? Oh, we've always done it like that. Well, that's not a good enough reason. And when you dig into it, you realize it's just in good faith, people will just kind of continue to do things in a certain way without realizing, because they're too close to it to be able to see that maybe there's a better way of doing things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I was to ask you for this is the inevitable question, isn't it? Of the year and all the things that you've done and experienced, one of the one thing that stands out for being a fantastic thing to be involved in, and the other thing that stands out because it was an atrocious thing to be involved in.
Right. The second one's going to be very difficult, but
good.
The first one is, I suppose, I said this when I reflected at the AGM, but it was really the opportunity that it gave me to connect with people throughout the industry. I just loved that. I still love it. I'm not going to suddenly stop doing that because it's just happening. But it was happening before the presidency too. But the presidency is that fantastic opportunity because of the position you're in to be able to say, yeah, let's have a chat with all these different people. And a lot of them were online, but it didn't matter. In fact, I did say this to someone else, that because of the way my presidency fell, partly in sort of a lockdown situation, I actually think I got to speak to more people, which is brilliant, because
I'm sure, yeah.
In the olden days, BC, I think the presidency of the SLL looked very different. And when I look back on it, I think in a way it looks like it's in a little bubble that doesn't connect with other parts of the industry. And we can't have that. I really don't like how fragmented it is already. So, we need to be as connected as we can be. And the online transition, the pivot, as they call it, to online, did really make that possible. And I hope that will stay with us. And those connections that we've made will hopefully, really stick. And that has been the best. It's been the ability to talk to people from all different corners of the industry who have very different perspectives, people who wouldn't normally go anywhere near the Society of Light and Lighting, wanting to understand, what are your concerns? Is it about your job security? Is it about becoming a parent? If there's like so many different aspects to it, and that's been great. And I mean, on that front, just on the sort of gender front, that's probably been the bit that I feel proudest about. Is not that because I'm a woman I should necessarily make that the focus, but I did talk about the gender balance or lack of balance in the Society of Light and Lighting membership. That was one of my key things. And I felt that I was able to be present and be visible and show people the diversity of lighting and try to represent as much as I can. Not that I can represent all of womanhood or anything, but to try and kind of represent the different needs of people in our industry.
Okay, well, no.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one half of the question answered.
Oh yeah. Okay, you're not going to let me off the second half, are you?
Give us the dirt on what didn't work.
Well, I mean, I suppose, one of the things that might have been more difficult is another aspect of my address was about communicating the need for people to make healthy choices with light. I feel like we talked about it a lot, So, I talked about it a lot. I did a couple of things, published a couple of articles, but I don't think we haven't done enough. And I'm a bit at a loss about what to do. I think we've been talking to ourselves about it, and we need to talk to the public about it. And I still, it's not over. I feel like Society of Light and Lighting are one of the best organisations to do that. Yeah, so, I must say, though, there are things going on in the background with regard to, we now have a press liaison at CIBSE, which we didn't have before. And so we have the opportunity to connect with mainstream press in a way that we didn't before. And because that wasn't in place, it sort of disappears into the abyss. The message doesn't go anywhere where people can listen to it. So I'm still passionate about it. I'm not giving up, but at the end of my year, I wasn't able to turn around and say, and we produced this leaflet, or, look at how old-fashioned I am, leaflet, but you know what I mean? Something that can get out there, that can communicate to people. If you choose the right lighting, it will make, a difference to your health. If you think about your light exposure, it will make a difference to you.
And the great thing is that that cohort of people who are caring is only growing.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And it's growing, and it's getting more, should we say, it's getting more sensible.
Yeah.
In terms of how we should be approaching this. That there are not quick fixes. There are not quick technical fixes.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully people are understanding that it's not buy this light and you'll be healthy, even though there's lots of products out there that would have you believe that, of course.
Well, yes, yeah. Right, I'm going to finish off this one with it's more of a general attitude to SLL, but I think the position that you are in and you have been in, it makes you sort of one of the perfect people to answer this one. In the Roland conference a few weeks back,
yes,
and Mark Major was talking, and his presentation, Everything Must Change, and one of his 10 pointers, things that he thinks we need to do, he said we need to be better than the best. And what he meant by that, clever lad that he is best is usually referred to as best practice. Best practice is usually refers back to lighting guides. Lighting guides usually refer back to written documentation that could be anything up to 10 years old. And therefore, in order to be better, we need to be putting those things to one side and understanding the world as we see it. Which, if you like, just you can take that as an absolute criticism of bodies like the SLL, if you like. But actually, I prefer to take it as it is impossible to create a document which is still up to date, even 6 months after it's been printed.
Yes, yeah.
But what's your take on that? Because I could imagine those kind of conversations happening, in camera around the committee.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have this conversation a lot. There's the issue of the gestation period of a guidance document, but also you must remember that the British standards are published, and then our guidance is usually built on those. So we're working with what's been, what's the word, inherited, or we're having to deal with and respond to the British standards that are produced. And there is obviously some crossover, because there are some people who are involved with BSI committees who are also involved with Society of Light and Lighting, but there's not a very big overlap there. I think people might think there is, but there isn't. Not at the moment. There may have been in the past. And so there's that aspect. And usually we try to make the guidance a bit more sensible, if you like, more kind of common sense, to take the British standard and then, yes, follow the spirit of it, but also add the kind of the judgment and the narrative around the numbers. And with exterior lighting, I think we do have a problem, because the road lighting guidance in the form of the British standards is hugely constraining us. and that I think I'm not sure because I haven't spoken to Mark about this, but I think that might be behind, his statement. Thinking about some of the requirements of, is it 5489? God, I don't, I'm not the
It'll
best
do,
person
yes.
to quote these. He might be thinking about, some of those lux levels are damaging, the ecology. And the question is, how do you fulfill that? And also, deal with the fact that you're trying to minimize the impact. So, we're in a kind of a tricky position there. I guess the other aspect of it is that the British standards are not legal documents. We always have this conversation. They're not mandatory. They're guidance. The building regulations are legal documents. And you have to be able to show that you've followed a reasonable process, and the British standards give us that. So most people will stick with them, but you can deviate from them if you have the right support. Yeah. So, I think in theory, I love this idea that we can go, see this British standard, because we need to do something different. I love that. And I think it's possible to do it, but you've got to have a client who is with you and is willing to take that legal risk. What if we get sued? Then, how are we going to demonstrate that we've done the right thing? When we can't say we follow. So there has to be maybe an audit trail, which is hugely boring, but there has to be an alternative sort of way of demonstrating that you've done the right thing. And until the British standards have caught up with that, we've got a bit of an issue. I'm making this very Britain centric, but I'm sure the same problem is repeated in lots of other countries.
I think it's everywhere where there's a court of law. Yeah, you can stand up a designer and have a barrister say, "Why did you do that?" Yeah, and I'm a great believer in things like defence statements. That if you are going to do a variance on any standard, you've got to explain why you're doing it. Yeah, you've got to put some sort of justification to that, because otherwise it is just you. And who gave you the right to say that? Yeah, you've got to have that buy-in from people, and a defence statement is a really good way of approaching that. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. That's my take on it, anyway. No, I think we all understand that is the world better for having lighting guides or not? And I think that's a silly question, because I'd rather have a guide that I can point at and go, here's a guide, and this is why we're not going to follow it. Yeah. Maybe in that sense, it's a question of having a benchmark to start with. Yeah. And being able to say, there's a guide that says you should do this, but in this case, we're going to do something else. And I completely agree. There are some sectors more than others where that's absolutely the right way to go. Yeah. Ruth, that's been great. Thanks for your time yet again. It's always good to talk to you. Thanks so much. It's been really nice to reflect, and I can hardly believe it's been a year. But I mean, it hasn't been a year since we spoke, but I can hardly believe it. It's flown. Well, it's one of those that we were going to try and fit in a sort of a halfway through conversation. So this is almost like the halfway through. Yes, but it's 6 months late. Yeah, so that's all right. That's all right. We get there eventually. Better late than never. Yeah, Ruth, I'll see you out there. Thank you very much, and to everyone who's been watching this. Thank you very much for paying attention, and we'll see you out there. Thanks, John.